name's Kate Scott. I'm from Cambridgeshire, Northamptonshire border. We're fourth, fifth generation arable farmers here to support all the agricultural farmers in the country. That if we don't have farmers, we won't have food.
Hello, Nigel.
Good to see you. Now,
Great to see you here.
I was here 20 years ago.
Yeah.
400,000 people marching peacefully against the hunting ban that was being brought in, and it got us nowhere because, truth is, Blair was going to win the next election anyway. But I do think that with 100 or so Labour MPs from rural or semi-rural constituencies, I mean, they're going to have to shift on this.
I think they are, and I think it's interesting. I mean, the Countryside Alliance, if you look at the head there, she's actually a Baroness Labour. You know, I think there's a situation where many people, like we're seeing with some of the other things on net zero, where some unions are saying, actually, this is impacting working people. We're seeing that with the GMB, we're seeing it with others. You can't just have this disdain where you're not engaged with the public and you realise the impact of these consequences. It's not just a kind of coffee chat where you don't think about ramifications and consequences. I think you're right. I think that really anyone who's sensible, if I was having that conversation here in Whitehall, I'd be briefing them to say, take stock. We've seen, Nigel, haven't we, that there's been a contempt for the public. There's been name calling and smearing. We've seen terrible things. Hopefully we're not going to get a knock on the door for saying that. But what's so good today is there's so many different people here and we're really excited. And we're going to keep supporting our farmers. It's massively important.
Yeah, well, I believe this is actually today's the start of something that's going to be much, much bigger. And the other thing, of course, this also affects small businesses, family businesses. That's not even being talked about.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I come from the background of hospitality. You know, we have hundreds of thousands of signatories. Many of them are from the hospitality and retail sector. If you've got a small business and this IHT, the inheritance tax, has now come down, that's going to impact everyone, as you say. Yeah. Also, all the other parts of the business from farm to fork, right? All the haulage companies. There's a huge multiplier effect across all of this. We've just been in Wales on the weekend. Great farmers there doing stuff. We've come back, you know, the whole ecosystem, dare I say that term, but in a proper way, that's actually going to be impacted by all of this. This is really huge. And I would really encourage everyone in the public who hasn't got involved, let your MPs hear from you. We know that when we have calls to action, when your MPs hear from you and they know that you're annoyed about that, tell them your vote depends on this. Let's support our farmers and let's send a resounding message to everyone in the Cabinet and in Parliament together. Why do you think this is happening at the moment? Why do you think that so many people are angry and the government has done this?
Well, farmers have had a really tough time for years. You know, under the last government, they were stopped from sending their produce into Europe, and then which was a trade deal with Australia and New Zealand, making it easier for them to undercut our farmers. Then there's the botched transition and the basic payment scheme. You know, then they've had so many other things. They've had rising energy prices, fertilizer prices, feed prices. And then they've had just some of the worst weather and flooding in generations. Farmers have had it really, really tough, and this government doesn't seem to get it. It takes my breath away by how dreadful they're being. This is a full-scale attack on them. They're slashing their payments, you know, the basic payment scheme. They're going to cut that quicker and faster. It's going down by 76% next year. And then they've got this horrible family farm tax. So Liberal Democrats will be standing by our farmers every step of the way. I don't think they understand how farming works, passing a farm from generation to generation, long-term investment, and they don't seem to understand that the farms are maybe asset rich, but they're cash poor. And you know, they say, well, they can pay it over 10 years. Well, that'd be a huge liquidity problem for farmers. And so I think this just has to stop.
And what would you say? How important is it for the public to let their MPs know, to have their voices heard, to call them, email them, and say, you know, their views about supporting our farmers?
I just urge people to do that, get behind them. You know, I think farmers in our country are the best in the world. They're crucial for food security. They're crucial to keeping food price inflation down. What would happen if farmers go out of business? You know, what's going to happen to the price of food? So this affects everybody. I think people in the Treasury and certainly in the higher echelons of the Labour Party don't seem to understand the full impact of this.
Jessie Crawley-White, I've come from a family farm in Chartridge. I'm fifth generation and I will not be able to take over our farm just because of this inheritance tax which have been brought on. I've come with my older sister and my younger brother, and all three of us will not be able to take over the family farm because of this. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Steve Gomez, I'm here to support the farmers of Great Britain. I'm here to make a stand really against what I see as a destruction of British culture, of everything that stands for Britain. I mean, if you think about what is quintessentially British, what is quintessentially English, you can't help but think of the countryside. And that countryside has taken years, generations to cultivate. And that is what is quintessentially English. And without that, what are we? It's an attack by a group of politicians who seem to have infested our parliament, who are career politicians, who seem to have an agenda all of their own. They're not interested in Britain, the people and the culture. They're trying to destroy it so far as I'm concerned. We need a really big rethink on the whole way that our country is governed and run. And this is an example, and this is why I'm here to stand with good people, farmers and good people.
Well, I'm here like everyone because what Rachel Reeves and what the Labour Party are doing in the budget is dreadful, and we've never had this before where we've had inheritance tax on agricultural land, and as everyone knows, this is going to decimate small family farms that up to now have been able to pass on the family business, the family farming business from generation to generation. That needs to continue because that's our heritage, but this is going to destroy a whole industry, and it's a deliberate demolition, and it's got to stop. And the message from everyone here is stop what you're doing. It's wrong. Stop it and get out.
I'm John Wilston. I've come up from Essex today on the train to protest this new levy on inheritance of family farms. I think the levy should be set at 5 million because any business less than that is not really going to make the money to pay the tax. So I think maybe it's fair for big landowners like the Duke of Bedford and Paul McCartney, whatever. It shouldn't affect the small farm that's just breaking even.
Hi, my name is Grania Horswell. I'm here because I think people are fed up. I am fed up of the Labour government, how they're treating the citizens of this country, and farmers need to stand up. They feed us, they look after us. They look after our land, they look after nature. They know more about the environment and nature than any bureaucrat in Parliament. So, yeah, that's why I'm here, to support them. I'm not a farmer myself, but I'm here to support the cause.
I'm here to support the farmers. I've spent 22 years in the food industry. I was brought up on a small holding. And this is just another assault on our country, our heritage. And this is actually nothing to do with inheritance tax. This is a land grab. He's a Prime Minister with a very small mandate from the people. 20% of the adults who could have voted for him did vote for him. And he's lost most of that. The public have had enough already. It was the shortest political honeymoon in history. It's going to go down as the most unpopular Prime Minister ever. And he's only just started. And it'll come from the ground up. It's not going to come from Her Majesty's opposition. At the end of the day, people have just got not to comply with the draconian measures this government are going to bring in. They're going to be bringing digital ID cards to monitor us. This government's a complete betrayal of the British people, and they need to be removed, or this country is going rapidly, as everyone knows, down the plug hole.
Everyone's here, lots of people. We've got farmers, we've got citizens, haulage, truckers, pensioners, students. Let's all stand together with our farmers. Make your voices heard. Let your MPs hear from you. This is just the beginning.